So you want to know the secret to truly great, sustainable architecture? It's not about the fancy materials, not at first anyway. It's about looking up, at the sun, feeling the wind, watching the rain. It all starts with the climate. Today, we're going to break down how architects read the environment, from the entire planet down to a single city block, to create buildings that don't just shelter us, but actually work with nature.
I mean, think about it. How is it possible that a coastal town can be all cool and breezy, but then you drive just 50 miles inland and it's absolutely baking in the heat? Well, the answer is that climate isn't just one big monolithic thing. Nope, it's actually a series of nested systems, kind of like Russian dolls, from the scale of the whole planet right down to your front porch.
All right, so let's start at the top with the biggest picture possible. We're talking about the macroclimate. This is our foundation, the broad brushstroke that really defines the whole character of a region.
You see, the macroclimate is shaped by these huge, massive forces. We're talking latitude, giant mountain ranges, how close you are to an ocean. It's literally the reason a rainforest is a rainforest and a desert is a desert. It gives us the basic rulebook for an entire country or even a continent.
And this map here, this is how we give these macroclimates a common language. It's called the Köppen-Geiger system, and you can think of it like a global map of weather personalities. It's fantastic. Just look at it. You can see the hot, humid equatorial zones down there in red and purple, the huge arid deserts in yellow and orange, and the cool temperate zones in green and blue. It's an incredibly powerful tool that gives architects a quick, shared understanding of a region's fundamental climate character.
Okay, so now let's zoom in a bit. Let's take Portugal as our example. Using this system, we can instantly pinpoint its climate identity. It's mostly classified as a C climate, which means temperate. The S tells us it has dry summers, and the A or B tells us if those summers are hot or just warm. So just from that simple code CSA or CSB, an architect immediately knows the #1 challenge for designing in Portugal is going to be managing that summer heat. See how useful that is?
And this here, this shows you exactly how we get that code. It's not magic. See on the left, you've got the raw data, where it rains, where it's hottest. And then, on the right, you see how all that data gets boiled down into those Csa and Csb zones. It's a direct line from what's actually happening with the weather to a clear design mandate. But of course, a whole country is never that simple, right? So let's drill down to the next level and see how local features start to create these unique little pockets of weather. We're talking about the mesoclimate.
Okay, the mesoclimate. This is where things get really interesting. This is the climate of a much smaller area, like one specific valley or a big city park or a forest. It still exists inside that big macroclimate, but it gets bent and shaped by local stuff. Hills, lakes, even big patches of trees.
This is a perfect example, a real classic. So think about it. Heavy, cold air acts a lot like water. It flows downhill, right? And it pools at the lowest point, creating what we call a frost pocket. And that is why you almost always see vineyards planted on the slopes, not on the valley floor. Those farmers are smart. They're tapping into a favorable mesoclimate, looking for that warmer little belt of air on the hillside.
Okay, here's a super simple analogy to help you remember the difference. If the macroclimate is this vast arid desert, then the mesoclimate is the lush oasis you find right in the middle of it, that little unique pocket of humidity and temperature created by a local feature like a spring.
And wow, look at this. Here is that exact principle in stunning, beautiful reality. These are the terraced slopes of the Douro Valley in Portugal, and they are an absolute masterclass in designing with the mesoclimate. I mean, this isn't just farming. This is a huge architectural intervention on the landscape.
All right, let's bring it all the way home now. We've gone from the continent to the valley, and now we're zooming right down to the specific city block, the very spot where a building will stand. This is the microclimate.
Now, for an architect, this is, without a doubt, the most important scale of all. In fact, analyzing the microclimate isn't even step 1 of a project. It's step 0. Before you even think about drawing a single line, you absolutely have to understand the hyperlocal conditions of that exact site.
So what is it? Well, the microclimate is the weather of just a few square meters. I mean, is there a big tree that's going to cast a shadow all afternoon? Is there a pond nearby adding humidity to the air? What about that tall building next door? Is it blocking the wind, or worse, reflecting a ton of sun right onto your site? Every single one of these little things completely changes the game.
And you know what? In our cities, We're basically creating these massive artificial microclimates all over the place. Think about it. All that dark asphalt, all that concrete, all those dark roofs, they just soak up the sun's energy all day long, and then at night they radiate it all back out. This is what we call the urban heat island effect.
Just take a look at this dense urban fabric here. Every single roof, every street, every wall, it's like a giant energy sponge. And the result? Well, it can make the center of a city several degrees warmer than the leafy suburbs just a few miles away. And that creates a huge challenge for keeping our buildings cool. Okay, so we've analyzed the climate at all three scales. Now what do? How do we take all this data and actually use it to design a comfortable building? Well, let's open up the architect's toolkit. At the end of the day, our sense of comfort really boils down to these four key things. And it's not just about the number on the thermometer, right? High humidity can make a warm day feel totally miserable, but then a simple breeze can make a really hot day feel perfectly fine. The architect's job is to play with and manage this delicate balance.
And this is one of the key tools architects use to turn all that data into a real plan. Now, I know, it looks a little complex, but the Giovoni psychrometric diagram is basically a cheat sheet for architects. It lets you plot a location's temperature and humidity, and then bam, it instantly shows you which design strategies are going to work best. Without something like this, you're kind of just guessing, and that leads to buildings that have to fight their environment with super expensive heating and cooling systems.
This is how we turn all that raw data into real design action. See that green shape right there in the middle? That's what we call the comfort zone. That's where we humans feel comfortable without any extra help. So an architect takes the climate data for a site and plots it on this chart. If the points fall outside that comfort zone, the diagram literally tells you what to do. If your data points land over here in the natural ventilation area, great. Simple things like windows you can open will do the trick. If they're over here in the passive solar heating zone, well, you know you need to orient the building to soak up that winter sun. It's an incredible roadmap for designing with the climate, not fighting against it.
But here's the thing. The climate we're analyzing today isn't the same climate that this building will be living in for the next 50 or 100 years. So we have to look ahead.
And the challenge is definitely escalating. I mean, projections for a lot of Europe show a really clear trend. Those warm, dry summers we're designing for today, they're going to get hotter and even drier. And the mild, wet winters, they're probably going to get wetter and more intense. And what that means is that the passive strategies we design today have to be even more robust, even more resilient to handle what's coming.
Look, the homes, the offices, the cities we're building right now, they're going to be with us for decades. They're going to shape our comfort, how much energy we use, our whole sense of well-being. So I'll leave you with a question. It's a simple one, but it's absolutely vital. As you look at the buildings going up all around you, just ask yourself, are we designing these for the world of yesterday, or are we designing them for the world of tomorrow?